You have felt it too, that little cold spot in your stomach when a man you have known for 3 weeks starts asking very specific questions about your house. Is the place paid off? He wants to know. Whose name is on the deed these days? What you did for a living, and whether the pension from it is a good one. He asks it gently, the way you would ask whether it might rain later. But you hear it anyway. You hear the second voice underneath the friendly one, the quiet one in the back doing the arithmetic. So let me say the thing plainly, the way I wish somebody had said it to me before I found out for myself. The men on the dating apps after 60 are not shopping for a wife. A great many of them are shopping for an asset, and you are it. You are not a date to that kind of man. You are an acquisition he is thinking about making, and he has already started a little ledger with your name at the top. I learned this slowly, and I learned it the expensive way, so let me save you the tuition. When I finally tried one of those apps, a couple of years after my divorce, I told myself I only wanted somebody to have coffee with now and then. A man matched with me right off, very polite, very free with the compliments, a fine head of gray hair in the photograph. By the third message, before he had asked me a single real thing about my life, he wanted to know whether the house was mine, free and clear. Not the street I lived on, not the town, whether I owned the roof over my head outright. I closed the app and put the kettle on, and I sat there at my own kitchen table with that old familiar feeling, the feeling of being walked through like a house at an open viewing, somebody pricing every room as he went. So I have decided to walk you through exactly how these men work, because the moves hardly ever change. The first thing they do is run the audit long before they ever run the romance. In that first week or two, while you believe the two of you are just getting acquainted, he is quietly taking inventory. He asks what you did for a living, and he is not making small talk. He is estimating the size of your pension. He asks whether your children live close by, and he is not being tender. He is finding out who would be watching the money. He asks about the house, the car, whether you still travel, and every answer you give goes straight into that ledger in the back of his mind. The women I hear from all say the very same thing in the end. The wonderful listener turned out to be a very thorough accountant. There was a man on one of these sites who told a woman right to her face that it simply was not fair that her children would inherit her home while his children would get nothing from him. So to be fair, he said, she really ought to put his name on the deed. There it is, that little word, fair. I have heard it from more than one of these men, like they are doing a woman a favor by helping themselves to the very thing she built alone. She ended it that same week, thank the Lord. But there is a version of this story where the woman does not end it, and that brings me to the next move they pull. After the audit comes the slow merge, where he starts trying to combine his life with yours on paper. It never arrives as a demand. It comes dressed up as a convenience every single time. A joint account would be so much simpler for the both of us, he says. Let me just get my name on a few things so I can help you manage all that, he says, because a woman your age should not have to carry that worry by herself. I had one of them offer to manage my money for me. I told him I had been managing it just fine since the divorce that taught me how, and I watched his face do a small thing it had not meant to do. They push to combine because combined is exactly how it gets taken away from you. Kept separate, your money sits behind a wall, and a man who is after it will always find a reason that the wall is cold and unromantic. I knew of a woman, a friend of mine, who let her boyfriend put his name on her deed because he was chipping in on the bills, and he said it was only right his name be on the paper too. There was that word again, only fair, doing all the heavy lifting while he reached for half of what she owned. When the thing went bad, and these things go bad, half of the house she had paid for with her own two working hands now belonged to him by law. She is the one who told me the lesson I am handing you now. Never let a man help you carry something that is already yours and already paid for. He is not lifting the weight off your shoulders, he is getting both hands on it. The move that costs the most is the one they hide the best, and it is the one where you let him move in, or he talks you into moving in with him, and then the slow draining gets going in earnest. Listen to the shape of these stories, because they nearly all share the same shape. A woman lets a man into her home. At first he pitches in a little, before long he is pitching in a good deal less. Then comes a loan he needs just to get over a rough patch, just this one time. After that it is the truck that needs fixing, and somehow the new roof becomes her bill to pay. I know of a woman who lived with a man for 12 years inside his house. She paid the utilities every month, she filled the refrigerator, she nursed him through his long sickness the way any devoted wife would have. And the day he died, his grown children turned up and put her out on the street with nothing but the clothes she came in. 12 years of her life, and she walked away with nothing at all, because nothing in that house had ever carried her name and everything had been arranged as his idea. They took the labor and the love and the cooking and the years of caregiving, and when the bill came due, somebody slid a flyer for a retirement home under her door. And do not go thinking it only runs in one direction, that you are safe because you are the one with less to lose. A woman I heard about had a man pressing her to sell her own house and come live in his, and the whole while he kept reminding her that his place was already willed to his children, the whole of it. The house she would be living in was set to go to his oldest son the day he passed. So she would sell off her own security, settle into his, and the morning he died she would be standing in a home that belonged to somebody else entirely, holding a suitcase and a memory. She told that man no, plain and simple. She said she was not about to pour her whole life's work into a place that another person could turn around and put her out of. That is the single smartest sentence I have heard a woman say all year. Then there are the ones who do not even trouble themselves to show up in person. The pure predators who do this for their living, the scammers working you from the other side of a screen. You know the type by now, even if you have been spared it yourself. The man who is forever overseas, out on an oil rig, away on a long contract in Dubai, a widower with a heartbreaking story, and a little daughter off at boarding school. He is attentive in a way no flesh and blood man has ever once been attentive to you, and that is because for him it is a job of work. He builds the thing for weeks, sometimes for months on end. He never quite manages a video call, and there is always a perfectly good reason. And then comes the emergency, and the emergency always needs money. There was a woman whose own mother, a lady in her 70s, lost more than $1 million to a man she never once met in the flesh because she had told him every last thing, her late husband, her family, her finances, all of it handed across to a stranger who melted it down into a weapon. A kind widower I heard about got taken for $75,000 by a waitress and her mother working him as a team. There is simply no bottom to it. These are people who get up in the morning and do this for a paycheck, and a lonely woman with a paid-off house is the exact customer they have been hoping to find. So here is what I want you to sit with for a moment. Every one of those 4 moves, the audit and the merge and the move-in and the scam, only ever works on a woman who is reachable. A woman who is a little lonely about it, soft in a tired sort of way, willing to be talked out of her own good sense because the company feels so nice after a long quiet stretch. The company is the product they are selling you, and the asking price is everything you have managed to hold on to. Now, I know what some of you are already typing down there, because there is always a kind soul who comes to set me straight. Not every man is like this, you want to say, and you are right, not every one of them is. There are men out there who would not dream of touching a dime that is yours, who have their own and want nothing more than your company. I believe you, I honestly do. I have known 1 or 2 of them myself over the years. But here is the part that matters. A man like that is not the one crowding the apps and running his eyes over your paperwork. You do not go looking for the rare, honest one in the very place the dishonest ones have set up their whole storefront. And as for me, I am not out looking at all. I made my peace with the quiet house and the deed locked in the drawer and the one name on the bank account, mine, a long time ago now. The company I keep these days is a sleeping dog, a steady faith, and my own hard-earned good sense, and not one of the three has ever once asked me what the house is worth. That is plenty of company for a woman who already got robbed once. If you want to protect your peace from these men, it is not complicated work. Keep your money in your own name and tell not one living person the balance. Never let another human being put their name beside yours on anything you would weep to lose. Do not move him into your home, and do not let him move you out of it. When a man you have known for 5 minutes starts talking about being fair to his children, the fair thing for you to do is wish his children well and lock your door behind him on his way out. And if he is overseas and in love and somehow always in trouble, then he is not overseas and he is not in love. He is at work and you are the job he showed up to do. Here is what I have figured out. Sitting in my paid-off house with my own name on every page of every document in it. What these men want has never once been me. They want the thing I spent my whole life clawing back after a man cleaned me out the first time around, and they want me soft enough to hand it over with a smile. I am fresh out of soft. You were never bitter for being careful with what is yours. You were never cold for keeping your accounts to yourself. You woke up, you saw the price tag he was quietly sticking on you, and you set it back down and walked out of the store. There was never one single thing broken about you. The broken ones are the men who go fishing for widows. And you are not the only woman who has figured all this out. There are thousands of us out here tonight, sitting in our own quiet houses, deeds in the drawer, accounts in our own names, dogs asleep at our feet, resting easier than we have in years. Subscribe if you are one of us, the women with one name on the deed and the door locked from the inside.